I was 27 the day I walked away from it all. My husband, our 3 children, and the home we had carefully built together over the years. From the outside, everything seemed ideal. I had a dependable husband, 3 wonderful kids, and a house nestled in a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. Anyone looking in would have thought I had it all. But on the inside, I felt like I was slowly vanishing. Day by day, who I truly was seemed to be fading beneath layers of repetition and responsibility. I wasn't living, I was existing. I had become his wife and their mother, but I couldn't remember the last time I had just been me. My husband wasn't a bad man. He never shouted, never lost his temper. He was kind, grounded, always consistent. But that consistency was part of the ache. He was simply present. Just there. We didn't talk about anything that mattered. There was no passion, no emotional connection. We functioned more like co-parents under the same roof than lovers bound by affection. During those mundane moments, folding laundry, stirring pots on the stove while the kids quarreled in the next room, I would ask myself, is this really it? Is this all there is for me? Then I met someone who shifted everything. He wasn't necessarily better than my husband, just unlike him in ways I craved. He heard me. He laughed at my jokes. He brushed his fingers against mine while we spoke. He looked at me like I was someone to be seen, not just a fixture in the background of a family portrait. I never meant for it to turn into anything. It began with a shared cup of coffee, then lunches, then long, intimate conversations inside his car under dim parking lot lights. Before long, I convinced myself it was love, though now I realize I was chasing a feeling I hadn't felt in years, aliveness. The night I left is still etched in my mind. My husband was upstairs tucking the kids into bed. I quietly packed a small bag, scribbled a note, and left it on the kitchen table. Then I walked out the door and didn't look back. I didn't hug my children goodbye. I told myself avoiding the farewell would make it less painful for them, for me. I kept repeating in my head that they were young, they'd understand someday. That I had a right to choose myself for once. That first year away felt like I had finally broken free. I was no longer tied down. I traveled with him. We stayed out late, free from responsibility. There were no bedtime stories, no messy toys, no unpaid bills weighing on the counter. I felt lighter, reinvigorated, like I'd shed old skin. But reality has a way of creeping in. The man I had sacrificed everything for turned out to be far from what I had imagined. When I needed comfort, he was emotionally absent. He thrived on being desired, but gave little in return. I discovered he had been unfaithful more than once. The fire I mistook for love fizzled into smoke far quicker than I ever expected. 5 years later, I found myself alone again. This time older, weary, burdened with a kind of regret that lingers in your bones. I tried to reconnect with my children, but they had grown in my absence. They were no longer the little faces I kissed before school. They were teenagers, eventually adults, bearing emotional wounds I had left behind. I wrote letters. I mailed gifts. I showed up to graduations and birthdays, on the rare occasions they allowed it. Sometimes they offered a hug. Other times they avoided my gaze. I took whatever slivers of affection they gave and held onto them tightly. Their father never said a single word to me. Not once. No questions, no accusations, no confrontation. Just silence. He raised them alone. He stepped into the void I had created and did the hard work I'd abandoned. He created a new life, a life I wasn't part of and never turned around. For years I told myself I didn't resent him. But after 2 decades, I know that's not true. I don't hold it against him for being distant. I don't blame him for protecting his peace. What haunts me is that he never let me speak. He never asked what went wrong. Never let me explain. Never gave me the chance to say I was sorry face to face. He erased me so completely, it's like I was never there at all. Today, I live alone. The man I left everything for is long gone. One of my children visits during the holidays. Another sends me photos of their kids every now and then. The third hasn't contacted me in nearly 10 years. I don't know if I'll ever get the kind of place in their lives that I ache for. And still, even now, I find myself thinking about their father. Does he pause when he sees my name on their phone screens? Does he ever think about who I was before I lost myself? Did he once love me enough for my leaving to hurt this deeply? But the question that lingers the most, the one that plays over and over, is why he never said anything. Not one word. And how, after everything, years of distance, of heartbreak, of silence, that silence still echoes louder than anything else in my life.